All right, welcome everybody. Let me just make sure everything is good to go here. So, the goals for tonight are we've got a fully loaded, actually, let me stop. Fully loaded agenda tonight. This is something we did kind of, I think we were doing these kind of last fall, and then things kind of get busy and you kind of get rolling and you kind of forget. And I have to plead ignorance or whatever. I just kind of forgot how much fun I had, how much fun many of you had doing these trader spotlights. We've done a couple of them with Dark Side Trader Brian, who is a STT Pro graduate. He was a guy. I look back. It was I think roughly May 2017, and he had all the tools, he had all the abilities, he had everything. And housekeeping is banging on the door. Just 1 second. I'll take a water, but no mint. That's fine. So I'll take a water. Yeah. Yep. So, but I don't want the chocolate. So I don't eat sugar. So that works great. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it'd be great. Yes. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you do a webinar from a hotel room. So, anybody want a water? She just brought me a couple waters, but I did pass on the chocolate. Our guest tonight is Tango Baker, and he has often tried to get me to eat sweets, and I refuse. Totally lost my flow there. Anyway, Brian had all the tools. Search your dashboard for Dark Side Trader, and there were great webinars with him. Did a trader spotlight with Steven Johnson as well, and talk about messing up your flow. Anyway, Tango Baker tonight. The cool thing is Tango has designed and laid out an agenda, made it very easy for me. I love it that he kind of broke down his strategy, broke down the Q&A, and without further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to get over to the questions, and I'm going to bring up Tango on stage here. And we'll get started. Did you like housekeeping coming in as I was getting started? So
that's pretty sweet.
So let's kind of get started. We've got a lot to go over tonight. So thank you, Chris. Thanks for doing this. Chris is in chat as Tango Baker. Let's get rolling. So I do this a lot on the podcast, and I think it's a great way for traders to kind of get to know where you're coming from. So, what's the origin story? What kind of, first of all, the screen name is interesting to me, and then where where'd the screen name come from, and then really that's a backdrop, but kind of what brought you to trading.
I was born in the family business. My father opened up a bakery in 1972, and from 72 to about 2002, I was part of the company. First started out, just a kid going through there, washing dishes, taking care of the customers, basic stuff, go all the way to the point where we had big contracts with convention centers. We supplied 32 restaurants and 4 hotels out of our place. Basically, remember just making a whole bunch of Danish for the convention center, icing them, loading them up on trucks, and then delivering them myself. So that's kind of like my business. A lot of baking. Did get kind of rebellious in my high school years and decided that I didn't want to be part of the family business, and got my degree in computer animation and graphics with a minor in computer programming. From that point, I realized that my father created really amazing products, and he asked me to come back to the business. And then the first thing I did is I contacted the Food Network And from then, it's been kind of a ride. I've been on the Food Network 4 times so far, and countless magazines and publications around the country and the world. One of my favorite magazines is Gourmet Magazine. So we've been spotlighted on that. Unfortunately, they're out of business too. So that's the baker side. The Tango side is my mom was a belly dancer. That's how she paid the bills. My parents weren't married. They've always been divorced, never remembered them together. And one year when I was around 18, she said, I want to pick up something new. I want to learn tango. I need a partner. You're coming with me. So I was like, there's no choice, you know. So started doing that, and then I actually fell in love with the dance with it, and took it pretty seriously to the point where I've done performances on stage, sold out theaters, traveled around the world, studied tango, went down to Argentina, studied tango as well.
So now I have a couple. My daughter, one of my daughter's favorite things, and this is something, you know, sometimes I'm embarrassed to admit, but we love Dancing with the Stars. So, you know, obviously a lot of those people are like pro dancers. I've always wondered this. I mean, like, is this a passion project, or does it pay to be a professional dancer, or how's that work?
It's like being a starving artist. I mean,
okay,
pay
that's
so
kind
much
of what I figured
for it. You know, the private lessons that I paid for over years of doing it. You know, it's by the hour. It's $75 an hour, and you know, you get 2 hours of it, and then it's just it's in a very expensive hobby. Basically, what it comes down to. And the very few who can actually make it, then you start making some money, but it's not great money, unless you're doing like Broadway shows and stuff like that. And then you can maybe get further along, but it's hard. It's hard to get to that level because so many people are trying to be at that. I've always been trying to find a partner that I could actually take to the World Tango Championships. I'm actually that good. I just never found a partner who could be that dedicated to do it, because it is a very costly and expensive thing to have a full team of people that you work with all the time. The biggest difference between what I do and compare what you see on TV, my style of tango is there's no choreography that goes along with it. So literally, I've had a girl come to the bakery, we have a conversation, and then she's like, oh, I dance tango. I'm like, oh, I dance tango too. And then we sporadically just dance tango in the middle of the lobby, and we look like we've been dancing for years upon years upon years. So it is a conversation that you're having. It's just in the body and the music telling you what to do, and you know your vocabulary that goes along with it. So I'll send you a link on my Facebook to the bakery that shows that whole conversation. Not the whole conversation, but us dancing for the first time together, and it looks like we've known each other our whole entire lives.
Because there's a system there, in essence.
There's a system. It's a language. It's just like when you pick up anything in the world, there's a language that goes along with it. So I do have a couple links if you guys want to check them out. I'm not sure how to screen share it here. That here, full screen share.
Yep. If you do that, it should take you up. Yep.
It says install the program. Install the add to Chrome. Add extension. Cool. Looks like you got added. Let's go back. The first one I have here is Fun Must Be on Diners, Dives, and Drive-Ins with Guy Fieri about our bakery.
So it's Thanksgiving time. Now on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, I have traveled all over this great country, meeting all types of folks, save their own way. So here I am in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where a father and son team have been baking up moose since 1972. And wait till you see the type of turkey they bake. This is Golden Crown Panaderia.
It's a fantastic, family-oriented bakery.
We feel really lucky to have them right around the corner.
Great food, great customer service, where you feel like family.
And they definitely know how to make a guy feel welcome.
So if you guys want to watch the actual full segment, it's on Food Network on the YouTube. You'll be able to pick it up. And then this is one thing.
just so everybody knows, Tango got me a bunch of links. I'll make sure, just like normal in the show notes, I'll drop all of these in there if you want to check them out. So.
And then here's one of my performances. This was here locally.
Mentioning loneliness, I feel lonely all the time. Ever since you went away, after swearing we would never part, there was nothing who could tell me that you can
So that's kind of like the background of my life and kind of like in a nutshell, and you guys can see the rest of the videos on it. So that's the behind the name, the screen name, and pretty much the passions I've been in my life. Both of them very expensive.
So now we kind of, and that's cool. I love it, man. I love that, especially the dancing video. Again, it's like I miss Dancing with the Stars now that it's over, but for the season anyway. But so what brought you to? You've got this successful bakery. You've got this expensive habit. Kind of what brought you to trading? What was kind of the origin story of that?
The cool thing about the bakery is you get to meet so many walks of life that come through the place. One of the walks of life that came to the bakery was a customer. I'm not going to say his name because I'm not sure how far this video will ever get. But throughout time, getting to know him, he was a school teacher, turned into a college professor, and his wife, sweet woman, they always would come in by like 15 loaves of bread, and they would freeze it and would come back. And he actually became like a family friend member. They became really good friends with my grandmother. And then certain things he would say, like, for example, money's like manure. It's best if you spread it around. So over the years, finally found out that he was like Warren Buffett. He looks like Warren Buffett, like the same physical features, all that type of stuff. And when he started getting closer to the end of his life, he invested, dividend investing, long-term stocks, and he had approximately $30 million from a school teacher's salary. Yeah, big money. I was just blown away. No, not bad at all. So he was anti-computers, none of that type of stuff. So he'd bring the Wall Street Journal to the bakery. He'd show me how to read the stuff on the Wall Street Journal, and then from that point, he, Wall Street Journal, bring it to me, show me how to read the P&Ls, and then he would show me what companies to open up your account with. It was a CompuShare company, and we'd mail in checks, and he would show me how to do that every so often. Then he talked about his investing thing. When he did pass away, he did give me his notebooks as my inheritance, I guess, of the stocks and his trades that he made. So it was actually kind of cool to see old school way of stock trading. You know, ledger lines, his notes, his dividends, and all that stuff. It was, man, it's amazing.
If you don't mind, I mean, again, you know, if you don't mind, man, I'd love to see like just a picture of a page or something. Because I think you guys you've probably seen some of my. I don't do it now with Pro because I do it all in Evernote, but I've got notebooks and notebooks and notebooks full of chicken scratch stuff, and I would love to see one of his.
It's amazing. And then his wife has stacks and stacks and stacks of it. So they're actually now giving it all away. So he's passed away. She's about to, I mean, she's older, but she's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. But they made us, you can't do anything with the money, but he wants to make sure that the money goes to the organizations that they want to do it. They're funding college students to get their degrees, giving a PBS, all kinds of stuff. So there's a long list for that thing. It's really cool. I mean, it's a big honor for him to think of me in that term, but that's what kind of got the bug in there. I realized doing this, I did not start as early as he did. I mean, he started as like 16, 15 years old. And with the bakery, we don't make much money at the time. We do now, but for many, many years of the bakery, is like we were making $50 a day. You know, just trying to keep the bills together, everything that that runs with the business and building a company and starting from scratch kind of type of thing. That it wasn't until the past 2-3 years that I was like, okay, now I get a paycheck. Instead of me getting a fake paycheck, giving it back to the company, now I get a paycheck, and I was like, what am I going to do with this? I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my tax refunds and put it into this Timothy Sykes world and get the education, so then I can make them.
It's funny that reminds me of, we had a similar journey. I mean, when I was building my business, now mine wasn't a family business, but I started it from scratch with a partner. And yeah, I mean, for 5 years, if we paid the bills and could, pay for your rent and your food, that was a successful month. I mean, that was it for 5 years. And you kept paying those dues. And then 5 years down the road, it was like, holy crap, I can take a couple $100 out,
Exactly. It's a good thing we had a bakery, because I was able to eat. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, there's many times I came home where I had no electricity in my house, and I had to go to my next door neighbor and get an extension cord and bring it to my house, and then I would have power, just in a warm bed to sleep. So, that's the struggle of running your own company and building a business like that. So it's not an easy life. Restaurant business. I know there's a couple of people I talked to in the stock group where they own restaurants too, and they're like, man, I'm just tired of the grind. And it can become very grindful.
So what, you threw this out there in kind of your agenda, and I am unfamiliar with this term. I like to think I'm a mile wide and an inch deep, but you asked, how is trading like a rise? So explain that to me.
So some of you guys may know this term. Some of you may not. Most of you guys probably won't, because it's not a language you'll know. And that's kind of what I liked about this idea of putting this out to you guys. So the term is called arroz. And if you know what arroz is,
I forget to roll my R's. I did manage to get a C- in high school Spanish, so I should know how to roll my R's. But
a little bit. So when I was down in Argentina and I was studying Tango, I was down there for about 2 months. And one of the girls that I was partnered up with, we went to this restaurant, and we're sitting there and we're eating and talking with people and drinking, and and after that we all go out dancing, and we repeat this process over and over again. That's the kind of fun thing about Tango. But this girl sat down and tried arroz, and between her English and Spanish and my English, my Spanish, we talked for about an hour and a half trying to explain arroz. She tried her hardest, until she was blue in her face. And finally, the subways were getting about to close. We'd have to take a taxi back, and she was like, "I'll try to tell you tomorrow." So I get back to my apartment, and let me grab this up. And then there's a commercial on TV, and it's this commercial I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to get back to screen share. And when she said,
and when you
Sí, con Diana, arroz. Hoy hice arroz, lo hice para vos. Yo soy Diana Arroz.
Perdón, tengo una duda. ¿Se escribe arroz o ros?
Arroz.
Ok, equipo, me equivoqué de vuelta. Perdón, equipo, sorry, mala mía, perdón.
so it's rice. I was so mad at the end of the night. That morning, I was
Figure
like,
out that Mackie.
yeah. It blew my mind. I was like, this is a roast rice. And so the story comes into my head all the time because Timothy Sykes gets so frustrated sometimes. He's like, he tells you about a pattern, he tells you this thing, and he's trying to explain this over and over and over again. And it's not until as you get experience or you see something that something finally clicks in your head and you're like, oh, that was simple. And that's like the biggest challenge with all this learning a new language. That's like with learning with dance or like learning baking. You're looking at something, you're trying your hardest, and then finally when it comes down to it, you're like, damn, it's simple. It was simpler than what I was making it be.
It was just right.
So that's my story about roast.
No,
and how it.
Feel that. I kind of like that actually. Because
I guarantee all you.
I talk about KISS, keep it simple, stupid, all that.
You're kind of breaking up, Tim. But
okay, I lost you there. What were you saying that?
I was saying you're kind of breaking up, so it's kind of hard to pick up everything you're saying. I think your internet's slow.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, let's do that. Okay. Well, it is bottling, and on hotel Wi-Fi. So let's this. You, and why don't you just go through your? So there's no real need for me to be up here.
Okay. So one of the questions that Tim always does with stock trading, he asks, what has been your struggles with trading? So my biggest struggle has been putting it all together. I didn't start out with the Tim Sykes Challenge. I started out with all the free material. Started out with the YouTube channel. I did buy his book, and then I followed the Wall Street Warriors thing on Hulu, I think it was, and it was just kind of like piecemealing everything together through the process. It wasn't until I decided that I wanted to go to the seminar in Florida, and that's when I met Tim Bowen. And then I decided I had to make a choice of deciding where can I put my money. Do I do a stocks to trade or do the Tim Challenge? And stocks to trade was a lot cheaper, so I joined that instead. So I've been with the stocks to trade group since September of 2016. I officially started with this process in May of 2016. That's the first time I bought a DVD, and I bought the $1 million DVD set that Tim had. The other thing is I had a lot of technical issues with the computer I had. This didn't have the right amount of strength to it, and I had internet issues, so stocks to trade would crash on me a lot. It wasn't fault of stocks to trade. It was actually more the fault of my computer with it. I did buy an Alienware computer to run stocks to trade, and I bumped up my high-speed internet. Thanks to Tim sending me his schematics for his computer that he built, I was able to figure out what kind of computer I wanted to buy or build. It's just cheaper and easier for me to buy an Alienware computer. The other issue I had was entering orders into a trade. I had a hard time understanding how ask and bid works. Each platform works a little bit different, how you enter a trade in. I made a lot of mistakes and I had a lot of losses because of that, because either I got into the trade too early because I didn't know how to enter the order in right. So that made things really frustrating for me. I know a lot of people don't talk about that, but I believe that when you're about to do a trade, it should be like super easy to be able to get into that trade. It should feel very natural. If not, you're fumbling around. You got to practice with entering your orders. I don't know how many people have had fat fingers to be able to trade with. I kind of say it in a way of an example. If you have a handgun most people know that the bullets go into the handgun, you kind of load it, and then you pull the trigger and you shoot. It's a whole different story when somebody's breaking inside your house, which has happened to me, and you're freaking out and you're trying to fumble around for your gun and you don't know what to do. So
Yeah,
that's why you go to
these crazy volatile stocks. I mean, if you can't, you know, if you're not familiar with your broker, your orders, I mean, yeah. Oh, trust me. Yeah, short that isn't me. And when I double short, it cost me like $1,000 because I actually out.
Exactly. That's it. I mean, it'll kick your butt. I mean, and then you get frustrated, and if you're dealing with a small account and you don't have the money to like have an account to be able to work with, and you're like pinching every penny to be able to trade with, you totally freak out, and it takes you out of your game, and you're like, damn, and you get upset. You're like, why am I so frustrating with this? So that part itself was very frustrating for me at the very beginning, and I had to find something that did work for me. And what I settled on was with Dash Trader to work with. Now, the reason why I settled on with Dash Trader and really work with that system is because Dash Trader works with multiple brokers. You can be able to buy modules, and then you can be able to have an interface with interactive brokers, or the ideal broker when you have that kind of money is Centerpoint. SureTrader uses Dash as well. So, for me, that's what I wanted to concentrate my most work on was with Dash Trader, because I knew how many different platforms it actually worked. So I spent a lot of time working out my keyboard shortcuts. If I wanted to, I can get in a trade like that and get out of the trade. I feel very comfortable knowing that that's exactly what's going to happen instead of something weird happening with it, because certain companies treat their limit buys differently compared to other companies. So that was super, super frustrating.
What I do, so it's like I know it's one kind of an extreme way. Let's work through your agenda, and I'm just going to kind of and let you work through your points, because I noticed I got done talking and like 30 minutes until you leave.
Okay, sounds good. The next question I had set up was, what is your setup like? So that's what everybody always asks. What is your setup like? And I see this on so many interviews. So first, I wanted to say I define my setup in two different parts. One is the tools I use, and the second is the brokers. And that kind of comes along with it. For me now, there's a clear definition of between the two different setups. My tools that I use to work with the stocks is Thinkorswim's TD Ameritrade's Thinkorswim, Stocks to Trade, Profitly, Dash Trader, Evernote, OneNote, OCAM, Excel, and E-Trade. So those are my tools that I actually use. My brokers are TD Ameritrade, E-Trade, Interactive Brokers, and SureTrader. IB and SureTrader mostly for shorting stocks, TD and E-Trade or for going long. One thing that, like what happened today, is the Thinkorswim system went down today. A lot of people got hosed on their trades. My biggest suggestion for everybody is that you have multiple systems to be able to trade with, and also have like your mobile phone just in case you lose access to your internet at your home, which has happened to me. And I was stuck in that trade, and I think that trade cost me $1,000 when I finally was able to realize what was going on. So you got to have redundancy in everything that you guys are doing. There's not one perfect trade. I also noticed like a lot of people, well, I see it, like people are complaining about stocks to trade. They're having issues with it. All brokers, all platforms have an issue. E-Trade totally lost their system a couple months ago. IB has lost their stuff. SureTrader has. So, the difficulties of dealing with systems and outages, it can be very frustrating, especially when you're trading. So always have yourself doubles of everything, and then getting to know the different systems kind of helps you with being able to read out a trade properly. So for me, I love stocks to trade. I use it very heavily. It does everything I need it to do, but I have backups for just in case. And then I can work back and forward. And then each platform does have certain benefits to it, and we're going to go through how I use the different platforms together with it. The next question, which a lot of people ask, is what books do you like to read? Sold Short by Manuel Pisano. That is an amazing book because it kind of gives you the full story and explanation of selling a stock short and kind of what to look for when you're selling a stock short, and the processes and the squeezes and you getting hosed as a short trader. That gives you all the stories of what Tim tries to explain to us of why shorting is really dangerous and why, and especially in this market, you don't want to short unless you know something that's going to be there to short with it. That book really gives you really good idea of what you're getting into when you decide to short a stock. The other books are technical analysis books. I had this idea in the back of my head when I was watching on the Tim Sykes DVDs that about the technical analysis, and I actually made it bigger than what it was. Tim Sykes' technical analysis is really basic. It's support and resistance. He doesn't do much more than that, and I was making it bigger in my head. So I did read a lot of books with technical analysis. I liked them. The Japanese Candlestick, all the Stephen Lee's books. Of course, the Complete Penny Stocking Course by Jamal, which he put out. See here. It was Technical Analysis by The Time with Brian Shun. But the rest of the stock trading books are meant for more mainstream stock trading. So it's really hard to read these books and then to apply it to the niche that we've got. And that part also messed with my head quite a bit because when we're looking at our niche, we are looking at a very small niche that these guys fully dismiss. And it's great to read the books, but it's hard to figure out how to apply it to what we're dealing with. And that's why I find like the Stocks to Trade Pro so powerful, because Tim Bowen is teaching us how to apply these things that are out in the rest of the world of stock trading and applying to this one little bitty niche that we're working with. So basically it comes back down to keep it simple, stupid. Support and resistance, the way to work it. The other question that I have here is understanding SEC filings. I have a hard time trying to apply SEC filings to the stuff. The DVD that Tim Sykes does with Michael Good, it's really good. It's a really good DVD. It's just that, in a sense, it was too complicated the way he was comparing like AT&T and MCI and how to find the nuances with that. Now down the road, I can see as an advanced trader how to want to look for that, like with Tim Grittani's big trade that he just did, finding about that stock where he made that $200,000. I can see that the SEC filings go into a really good place with it, but I was having a hard time trying to figure out what was really important to look at SEC filings and how to apply that. So Tim Bowen gives all of us a gigantic list of Twitter people to follow. And at the very beginning, I went through each person kind of individually, and one of the guys, his name is Auspex Research, and we'll include a link on it. And he had some twit longs in there. In those twit longs, I dismissed it at the very beginning because it was so long and it was so long-winded. Then, like a year and a half later, I heard his name come back again, and then I realized, I was like, wait a second, I've heard that name before. When I went into his twit longs, I printed out all his twit longs and I broke it down. I actually spent pretty much 2.5 weeks locked into my house. I didn't do anything other than read the twit longs. And then for about another month and a half, that's all I concentrated was on the SEC filings, and then how to apply it. And I was picking up little things like what Roland Wolf would say, or Dux would say, or other people would say in the chat, and I didn't know how to quite put it together until I read ASPEC's research on SEC filings. That guy goes deep into it, and it's actually applied perfectly for our niche. Next question is, what's the reverse stock theory I've been working on? If you guys want, I'm still not ready to release it to you guys because I just don't feel 100% comfortable with it yet. I'm definitely a lot farther than what it was. But if you guys go into the ASPEC's research stuff, you will see a lot of the information I've been working with on it. Once I feel ready to give it to you guys, I'll be more than happy to do another webinar and we can kind of talk about it. It's very detailed. There's a lot of nuances about it of how to be able to apply it. But I noticed that Tim Gertani, when he had that big loss with dries, he also found this guy out and used his information a lot too, so that he wouldn't get stuck in that same trap of a reverse split. So there, I mean, there's so many nuances with it. I'd be more happy to go through with it with you guys. So kind of the meat of what I want to go over to is what has actually put the switch of how I'm now starting to become a more successful trader, where I'm actually seeing the patterns, knowing the SEC filings, and everything coming together where I'm showing consistent trades. I haven't updated my Profitly account with my trades. I just don't want to have the attention yet with it, because I noticed that in the bigger chat room, these guys, everybody will ask you a whole bunch of questions. And yet I still feel like I'm struggling through this process with it. So I'm not ready for people to ask me a ton of questions of my trading style so far. But this is what I feel really comfortable. I really feel that this part of how to study and put these things together really will make a change in your trading style as well. So as Tim Sykes always says, studying the past teaches the future. So let me switch over to my desktop and we'll start breaking this stuff down for you guys. Okay, so now that I got my screen sharing happening, okay, so one thing a lot of people always ask is how many screens you have or what you're working with, and mess this up a little bit. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me get this lined up better.
No, and Chris, I got you. I see your message. I see your message there, but right, just rolling. I love your agenda, and I appreciate you for wanting to include me. But I like what you're doing, and you're answering questions. You're hitting the stuff. So if I'm a little laggy, you just roll with it. I love it. So.
All right, so a lot of people ask how many screens you have or what you have set up. So this is my screens. I have a total of 7 screens. I bought these screens like at pawn shops. Kind of went to the store, $5, $10, and then I found a couple of good deals on Amazon. This is before I found about Tim Bowen's badass Dell screen. But this is what I did to keep my costs down. Pawn shops. But this is my actual setup that I have here. So that's my screen setup. Let me grab this here. All right, so Profitly. It turns out Profitly is one of the most amazing tool sets that you guys will be able to find. I'm going to show you guys a couple things. So one thing I do is I printed out Wolf's trades because I really like him as a long trader. I found out that I'm actually a really good short trader. Just as difficult to find the shares of short A lot of time you're kind of sitting on the sidelines. Most of my losses come from going long. So I decided, instead of just concentrating on what I'm strong at, I decided to concentrate on what I'm weak at to help me be able to be a better trader. So Wolf is an extremely good long style trader. So I'm grabbing his trade as an example. Now, the biggest thing about this is I need to put a little bit of framework for you guys to understand what I'm doing. One, if you guys are brand new to this stock trading stuff, I know I've been helping out a couple guys on Twitter. So if you just started out, just joined the program, do not trade with real money. It's like, for example, if you coming to me and saying, "Hey, I've never baked before, but I want to become a baker, but I want to start baking tomorrow, and I have a big catering job," and I'm looking at you, I'm like, "You don't even know how the chemicals react between each other. There's no way I'm gonna ever allow you to bake." It's kind of like a problem with stock trading is it's so easy to trade that at the very beginning because you want to get into it. Reality is you have no business starting to trade. I know if I took that mindset from the beginning, I would have lost the $10,000 I've already lost in trying to learn this process. So yeah, you do have to learn, and you have to pay your commission to the actual market itself, but be smart in how you're paying your commission to it. A perfect example of a smart loss compared to a bad loss is me going through the reverse stock theory I was going to. I bought some shares on it, and I wanted to go through the process of either getting my ass smoked or making money at it or seeing how shares get pulled in. I want to know that whole process. I was prepared for a loss. I remember with that trade, I was down a little bit over $13,000. By the time the process ran through, I only had a $4,000 loss. I was sweating bullets. I didn't want to take that loss, but I knew the moment I started that process, I was going to be a smart. This was going to be a purpose loss because I wanted to know the nuances that Tim Bowen always talks about. But if you just started, don't trade. It's really not in your best idea to trade. Best thing to do is keep on saving your money, and then once you have your trading plan, then you can actually start applying it and then pay your tuition to the market. So the framework that I work in with, Tim Sykes always says, go for singles, go for singles, go for singles. And I have a hard time trying to understand the single. The reason why I had a hard time trying to understand a single is because for every different person, there's a different definition of what a single means. So for me, a single is a 10-cent move. A double is a 20-cent move. A triple is a 30-cent move. Anything above a 30-cent move is a home run. The framework in that is I'm talking about stocks that are trading above $1 up to $10. The other thing too is share size. I have had more 10-cent trades, solid trades that I can count, but I'm only trading with 200 shares or 50 shares or 60 shares or 300 shares. If I would have gone in with 1,000 shares or 3,000 shares, then a 10-cent trade would have been like $100 on 1,000 shares. Or if I had 3,000 shares, I would make $300. Just to give you guys an idea, Dux's second 100 trades, his average gain was 12 cents. That's it. It was only 12 cents his first 100 trades, and he was making bucks. Wolf's average is around 10 to 30 cents. Most of his trades are around 15 cents. So if you guys understand what these guys are doing and what made them so successful at the beginning, is their singles were 10 cents and up to maybe, and a double was a 20-cent trade. If it ran on them, they would take it, and then that's when they get the $3,000, $4,000 trades. But that's what they were working with. And you guys can go through each of their trades and kind of see what the same thing that I saw. This is the reason why I'm reporting it back to you guys. So I printed out all the trades. And if you see in this example here where he made $2,000, what's his share size? 3,000 shares. So it gives you a really good frame, an idea with it. LX21, which is arguably the greatest trader that has come from this Tim Sykes universe, you know, he was trading with 3,000, 5,000 shares. So when I talk about my trades, I say, okay, it was a 10-cent win. It doesn't matter your position size. Okay, it was a 20-cent win. It doesn't matter your position size. So it doesn't really matter what your profit was. Like you want to sit there and say, oh, he made $10,000. No, change your frame of mind and think of actually what he really did make on this trade. Was it 20 cents, 30 cents, 10 cents? That way, when you start getting a bigger and bigger account, you just start scaling up. The only difference between the two different trades is how many shares that you're trading with. So the first thing I do with this trade.
Well, yeah, see, I'll quit interrupting because it's so laggy, but that is a great point there. That's why, you know, every day when we're talking about stuff, you know, it's like when a lot of you pro members will mention profits, it's like, I don't really care about that. I want to talk about, you know, did you take 10 cents on a $100 stock, or did you take 50 cents on a $2 stock? And that's a great point.
That's it. I mean, that's what we're trading for. We don't care about the top. So here's an Excel sheet that I've been building off of Wolf's trades. Now I've built an Excel sheet off productive trades. I built an Excel sheet off of LX21 trades. This profit column means nothing at all. What matters is this price per share and the profit. What was your entry? What was the exit? What was your profit per share? So I build this as I go along, as I build out these trades. And this trade was done on the 17th. And his entry price was 3.5727, and his exit price was 4.2886. The position size was 3,000. They made a 72-cent trade. So that to me, you know, when Sykes is always talking about a 20% gain, 30% gain, or 10% gain, I can't. When I'm in a trade, I can't figure out the percentage change. All I can look at is the actual cents as it's moving along. Because when you're looking at your trade, how are you going to figure out what's your entry off of a 120% mover, and then it moved up a little bit more? To me, I know exactly what entries I had on the stock. I know I entered at $2.39. I knew 10 cents into $2.49. So for me, when I'm heated in the moment and I'm on that trade, that's what works for me. I also will put in what time he got entered in the trade, what time he got out of the trade, and then I'll change it for my time of day for my portion of the country. So I'm in Mountain Standard Time, so then I change it from here. So that's how I build out these trades so I can see what these guys really did. All right, so grab my other notes here on the trade. Okay, so there's another set of rules that you guys got to know. You got to understand NASDAQ listing rules. The NASDAQ listing rule that most of us, or everybody, talks about is being above $1. If they're not above $1, they're talking about being delisted, and they'll get a delisting notice. But most people don't talk about, and we're not going to go into details in it, but you got to know this number. Stockholders' equity must be a minimum of $2.5 million. If it's not above, if it's less than $2.5 million, most likely they're going to have to do an offering. So when you guys are always hearing people talk about, oh, they're going to have to do an offering, this is the number that most guys are looking at. Do I know this by fact? No, I know this by the rules of the NASDAQ listing. So you guys got to know those two numbers, and those sit in the SEC filings. Let's see here. So by knowing those framework, those rules for what how I'm going to trade, this will give you guys a really good idea of what you're going to be looking at. So I know a lot of guys here are part-time traders. I know a lot of guys here have other jobs. I know a lot of you guys are having a hard time trying to actually be here for market time frame. So I'm going to show you guys how to be able to study the most difficult thing about being a trader, and that's price action. Price action is the part that's going to freak you out the most because you're not used to seeing it. And when me and Wolf talk, we talk every now and then. I don't like to bug him too much because he's a family guy. But me and him will talk. He said the biggest thing you got to learn is you got to have your seat in the butt and be able to watch the stocks do their thing. Well, a lot of us at the very beginning are doing 2 jobs, looking at having our own company. How are you going to be able to sit there every day for market and know what's going to happen with it? So that is like the biggest thing, is learning the price action, learning about what Tim Bowen talks about us every single day. What's your entry? How did it happen? If you don't know what you're looking at or how to put it together, you're never going to understand what Tim Bowen's trying to explain to us. That's why he wants to be with us for a year. So find a trader that fits the style that you're looking to do. Ducks, LX21. Now we got Huddy coming through. See who else do we have? Papa John, he's coming through now. Go into Profitly, find these traders, pull up their trades, and break down their trades. Okay, so that kind of gives you the framework. So we're going to build a trade. So the stock we have is going to be CETX. There is not one platform that I know of, and I could be absolutely wrong, that will give you true history of a stock. So first thing I do is I pull up CETX and I look at the bigger overall picture of the chart. And then I find the date that's whoever the trader is that you're following, what day they traded it. So this stock that we're going to follow is going to be on 5/17. So that's approximately this area right here. So I loaded up a lot of the stuff to take out the time to show you how to do this. So I'm going to see CETX, and I'm going to go to the news filings for that time frame. This is what we look for every single morning. We look for the speed of the volume coming through and what the catalyst is. So on here we have an earnings winner, and they beat it by 8 cents. That's our catalyst that we're going to be looking for. So the next thing I do is come back here. I go to the chat log, the archives for the day, and I look and I try to find the stocks that guys are talking about in the morning, and I write them down. And then I'll try to find if Wolf was in the chat room, if he talked, or if Dux is in the chat room, I want to know what they said about the stock. Some days they talk a lot about it, some days they don't. So this is one day that Wolf really doesn't talk about the trade. Other days, Wolf will talk about the trade, and you'll get kind of what his mindset is at. That's what I'm looking for, is his mindset, what he's looking at. At the very beginning of the chat room archives, kind of scrolling through it, I find that it's a earnings winner. So kind of go through it. And then you can do control find and look for the terms that you're looking for. So CETX. And then here we are. Earnings winner, good news, 31 minutes ago, finance, and then you have a link that you can be able to use from that, and then you can pull it. That's your good news. All right, so we're building out these trades in reverse. Because we're building out these trades in reverse, that means you have to do a better job than the actual trader who traded it, so then we can have a good idea of all the sentiment that was going along with that trade. All right, now I'm going to pull in the Thinkorswim platform. So I got the settlement of it. Actually, I'm going to change that. I'm going to pull in OTC Markets. Cool. Thanks, Tim. Awesome. All right, so let me get the screen. So I have 7, and here's another problem too. By having 7 screens, it's hard to find out where your mouse is at sometimes. So you got to make sure that you know what you're doing with it. Okay, CETX, I go to OTC Markets. The reason why I go to OTC Markets is because it does take a little bit of time to load with STT. But I'm going to go in here, and I already pulled up the history with the stock. And the date that we're trading in on this was 5/17. Okay, so the first thing I'm looking at on here with the stock is I'm looking for the dates of stuff's happening. One thing I look for before that is the filings. If I see a whole bunch of Form 4s or Form 3s coming in through, that means the insiders are loading up. That means the guys who know the company, they're coming through and they're buying up stocks because they have something coming up. So if you want to kind of get an insight of what the insiders are doing, look at this stuff. They have a good idea of what's happening with the company. I know I look at my P&Ls every week for my baby. So why wouldn't they be looking at their P&Ls and seeing what's coming through? So this is one of the things I kind of look for on my SEC filings. The other thing I look for in my SEC filings, actually I already have it up, is I'm looking for this guy, the 10Q. The one thing I'll go for in the 10Q is I'm looking for this number right here. This is the float. It says here, indicated number of shares outstanding. This is the float here. I want to know this number. And then what I'll do is I'll go back over here, and then I'll try to find last year's either 10Q or 10K. One thing I did notice when I was looking through this is how bad of a company this is. They are not reporting consistently throughout their stuff. How do I know this? This is going through the whole process of learning SEC filings from ASPECs of seeing what's going on. So I already pulled up the form, and the next thing I look for is I'm looking for this number here. So technically, this stock has only moved 1 million in float. What does that mean to me? It means if this number, the one that just came out, if this said like 45 million shares outstanding, and then this number was only 8 million shares outstanding, guess what's happening? There's toxic financing with the company, and they're dumping shares actively on a company. They're dumping actively on the market. That's the quickest way to find it. So if I have a big difference between the two, then what I'll do is I'll pull in my things that I look for. So let me grab that, bring it down. Here are all the stuff I'm looking for on my SEC filings. I'm looking for stockholders' equity. I'm looking for current assets, total liabilities. The biggest one is stockholders' equity. Most of the time, I really don't care about everything else in here. I really want to know what stockholders' equity is. Guess what? If you guys don't know what stockholders' equity is, you got to go through and you got to figure it out. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go down to stockholders' equity. They have $63 million in the stockholders' equity. The problem with trying to read SEC filings is that there's thousands upon thousands of companies out there. They run their numbers different. Each company runs their numbers different. My bakery runs my P&L numbers different than, let's say, Panera Bread. I've looked at their SEC filings because they put it in public. I look at it, I compare it to mine, I'm like, they run their numbers totally different than I do. There's one thing that's absolutely consistent is stockholders' equity. If it is liabilities minus assets, and they'll give you your stockholders' equity. I may have said that wrong. Check the notes. No, I think I may. It is assets minus liabilities. So the gas company works different than any other company. But one thing that is always consistent is this number. So that key number I gave you guys at the very beginning of $2.5 million, that's this number. If it's less than $2.5 million, they're going to be doing an offering. If it's higher than that, then everything sounds pretty good with it. So those are the things I look for. I'm building my profile on the stock as it goes right now. So, and we'll pull this out. Let me move this away because I'm done with that. Oh, Ace, let me show you guys the Twitter so you guys know what this guy's face looks like. This is the guy in here, and then he says, good place to start, in a nutshell, is read this. And it's a lot. So trust me, you're going to be on it for a long time. All right. Got the SEC filings. All right. So now I'm going to come down to one of my favorite tools, which is OneNote. And I have a lot of these things built out. So I'm going to create a new one. Oh, I also use Dropbox a lot for all my stock stuff. And then I have my Roland Wolf folder that I have here. Here's some of the stocks that I built out. So, TET fix. And then the thing I go into here is I go CETX, Wolf. So I know Wolf's in there. Sometimes what you'll find is Wolf and Ducks have traded the same thing, or Wolf and Huddy has traded the same thing. So I like to have these labeled out where we're going to have to. So then I'll put 2,117 profit, and then I will say the date of the trade. Okay, so I'm going to be building this out. So I'm going to say here, CETX, Wolf, long, how much you made, and then per share. This has evolved over time, so this is me actually really caring about this process because I wanted to show it to you guys. So it has evolved as I've started this process going, what am I going to do here? So then I'll put over here the synapse of the stock. CETX long was an earnings winner. And then I'll say the shareholder was 65 million, or approximately 65 million. And then I'll say the float, because the float is so important to everything we do. And it was a 9 million share float. And then I kind of start out with that. And it kind of depends on what you go through. But you guys can make up your own stuff what's important to you. But this is what's important to me. What was the catalyst? What he got into it? All right. So one thing, if you guys watch like a lot of the DVDs, Triforce Trader always talks about back testing, back testing, back testing, back testing. Well, I've never found out a real way to back test the stocks. And then I realized that Thinkorswim has on demand. On demand, you can see the intraday chart of a stock. And that is huge because one of the biggest frustrations I always had with watching all the DVDs is they were always, he would talk about it, but there was no intraday chart to match with it because they were so old. Well, the cool thing about Thinkorswim, you can even go back to the beginning of LX21's trading career, and you can see his trades in real time. That is mind-blowing because we will never be able to sit down with Wolf or Ducks or LX21 and pick his brain about a trade. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a screenshot. And I want to know a blank chart. So I put the screenshot in. I bring it back down. So normally I'm working with 7 screens, so I'm not going to look back and forth, but that's what I want to kind of show you guys. So I got the screenshot of this. All right, so here is a tip that I've picked up. Here's the beginning of the trade. Here's the chart of the trade. What you're looking at here is the daily. This is a 2-minute chart. This is a 5-minute chart. And this is a 15-minute chart. And here's the level 2. So everybody has this hard time trying to understand key support and key resistance. So I'm going to give you guys a little quick tip here. I'm going to change the time frame to 6 o'clock, 1600 hours, which I think is, here, I'll do 1800. No, 1500. 1600. All right, I'm cheating here on this, but I wanted to show you guys this super important piece of work. You have a complete chart. Everybody struggles with what is key support, key resistance. Tim Bowen always talks about $half dollar, whole dollar. So if you got $half dollar, whole dollar, here's your first line to draw out. $half dollar, whole dollar. Right? Down here, $half dollar, whole dollar. And then let's see here, I think it's $4, $half dollar, whole dollar. Those are your main ones. Then after that, take the high. Then after that, take different points that you see like it spiked and came back. You see the underside of a trade. Grab that. Then do it over here, and then over here. Okay, and then one of the biggest ones, pre-market, lay it out here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this. And I'm going to do a left extension, and then I'm going to change a lot of these things out. The big high, I wanted that one, and I wanted this guy. It's like, you know, like the reason why this is such a struggle is because it's like paintings. It's art. It's so subjective. Nobody knows this type of stuff. You know, if one person looks at a chart, another person looks at a chart, they're going to have their different support and resistance. And you don't know who's right and who's wrong. But by the time you do 300 of these build outs, you will start noticing what is support, what is resistance. Okay. So I missed that. We do this on. And this guy on. And this guy on. Okay. This guy on. This guy on. And there may be a way to put that default. I just don't know yet. All right. So we have all this information here. Now we're going to go to the yearly chart. Maximize sales. All right. Oh, let me go back. I want to do one thing real quick. All right, I'm going to change back the time to 9 in the morning. Go. All right, so we have our chart here. And we're going to make this big. Here's the things you're going to start noticing. Now I see in the past history, spike here, fail. Oh, that looks like that might be a resistance. But if you look back further, what was a support? Resistance becomes support, support becomes resistance. Everything that Tim Bowen talks to us all the time about. Now you have the lines. Oh, maybe I put my lines here. Look how closely it matched up to before. Back over here, look how closely the stuff matches up. Look right here. Yeah, look how closely it all matches up. This is how you can start correlating a support and resistance. So you do this 100 times, and then you come to your day at the beginning of the morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, and or for you guys, I'm sure what time frame you're in, but when it comes into open 9:30 Eastern time, and you see a stock, you know how to lay down your lines of support because you've seen so many times where this runs up to. That changed my whole trading thing, is being able to sit down and see this stuff every single time. All right, so massive, massive big deal on here. So now I'm going to go into here, and I change my time, and now it's in the morning. Now I'm going to this guy. Remember that float we were looking at? Goes back over. Remember this number? Now it matches over here, right? Oh, look at that. We created a piece of the puzzle. This means so much. One, you have to check it to make sure it's accurate because we are going so far in the past, but the float is correct on this. Here's another thing. How much volume has been traded? This is a pre-market trade. What's the volume like? Pick those numbers up because these mean tons of information. So if you know that this stock has traded this many shares already, which way do you think the stock's going to go? Is it going to spike at the open, or is it going to drop down? Is it going to be a weak open to close, or is it going to be right out of the gate? I'm going to bring this up to 9:30. Look what's happening now. 9:30, just about is it going to open. What is your best guess of what this trade is going to be? Now, I did kind of cheat by seeing the whole chart before, but over time, you can do this over and over and over again and then figure out what's going to happen, and can you guess it every single time? What do you know? This is a good chart. You know it's going to go long, but how is it going to go long? Are you going to get freaked out? All right, so then I come back over to my section here, and then I'm gonna say morning pre-market volume. Check it out, and then I'm gonna take a screenshot, and I want to know pre-market volume. And I put it in. Now I have my morning pre-market volume. All right, my next thing I want to have. What was the market like? As Tim Sykes always say, and what Tim Bone always says, how many stocks follow the market? Boom. Here's the market. The SPY, the QQQ, the DIA, and the Russell 2000. What does the market look like at the beginning of the trade? I also did, before I started the group, I went through the chat room and I grabbed all the different stocks people were talking about in the chat. So I know I can watch it develop. Because you're trying to put yourself as a simulator. I mean, in the military, before a pilot takes up a $10 billion jet, he has to go through so many simulations before he can take it up. Even though he's an experienced pilot, he still has to go through a simulator to be able to see what's going on. So I have a friend of mine, he flies the Osprey, and he's logged hundreds of hours before he was able to take an Osprey off the ground. So, we're trying to simulate this as much as possible of what real-time trading is like. All right, so I'm going to take a screenshot of the market. Okay, so we know it floats small. It's an earnings winner. The market's kind of tanking down here. So then after that, what I'll do, I'm not going to do it with us on it, but I'll click on this link here and I'll record a video, and I will think through the whole process of everything I'm saying, and then I put it in here. Then the next thing I do is I load up OCAM. OCAM is a screen capture software, and I will play out this trade. And I'll record it and I'll put it in. So I like to do market open in real time. So I'm watching this build. I'm seeing my level 2 as it's building here, and I'm going from here. Remember, what was Wolf's entry? His entry was at 357 pre-market. His exit was 428. So now we're watching the stock as it's going in real time. Now watch, it's having a hard time trying to get to that. What is it? $whole dollar, half dollar. This is the price action that freaks you all out. That when you get into this over and over again, you don't know what to do, especially as a brand new trader. There's no way you're gonna know this stuff. How are you gonna feel comfortable with a strong open? Are you now? The question is, we all know that Roland Wolf sells in chunks. He took a 3,000 share position. Did this freak you out enough for him to sell? I guarantee it did. Now look at this crazy volume. So now we're looking at the volume coming through. So, and then we have all our resistance lines that we're building out. Big gap up. It picked up over here. What's going to be the support? The cool thing about TD Ameritrade is it does real time. It does the VWAP from back in the day. This is a real-time VWAP that's happening. If you guys want to add any of the other stuff like the Bollinger Bands or whatever it is, and you guys want to see how it works, you can add it in here, and then you can backtest your guys' theories of all this different stuff. The reality is you don't need all that. Support, resistance, and VWAP. That's it. But look at this thing go. Would you sold there? Would you not? Why not? We're looking at the volume. How's the volume affecting it? Look over here. Look how many shares have been traded. Now you already had 1 million shares traded before 9:32. So these are the things that matter so much in a trade. So as you're watching and you're building it. So roll on ended at 428. You still got volume. Quick trade that he took from a dip and pre-market. Now it's showing weakness. You know, are you going to freak out, or are you going to be able to get out of this trade? So this is the price action that you got to be able to see that what's going on and how you be able to do a trade. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And as this is developing, I'm going to put a text note in here. And 357. So I'm going to say Wolf entered 3.57. 3K share size. Okay, and now I'm watching this develop, so let me change this out quick. All right. Change color. His entry is green for me, and then I move it around. 357. I can barely see it, so I'm gonna put it over here. Look at that volume pick up. So go on. There. Okay, so Wolf got out at 428. So I'm gonna put a note. Sorry, kitchen note is restaurant talk. Wolf exit 4.28.
Like.
Okay, align red. And we got out right here. So it's still going to be building. So one thing that we look at on these trades is the volume and how the candle builds out. And we're watching the candle and the volume build out. So now the uncertainty of knowing, is this a good trade? Is not a good trade? How are you going to get into it? What did somebody else do? Look at the things that somebody else was able to pick up. And then the cool thing too is there's this little fast forward button over here, and you can actually speed up the price action if you wanted to. So if it's like a really long trade, like sometimes Duck's trades are like in morning and then he's not out till like the afternoon, you can fast forward to the price action. So you're not really watching the full day's price action. You're just watching the parts that are really important and how it's bouncing off all the support and resistance. Look how cool this is. You got a doji here. You have your support at 390. Look how it built out. When we laid out down all the support and resistance, look at this, 420. It's amazing. It's amazing how well this all fits out. So I am going to speed this up a little bit on here. For you guys, if you guys decide to do this, you can do it in real time. I highly recommend real time because you get to look at your level 2. The level 2 is pretty accurate. I just don't 100% guarantee it. But you know, you can see here, look at this, 2 million shares traded. You think this stock's going to fall apart, or you think it's going to keep on ripping? I'm thinking it's going to keep on ripping through it. You know, because we don't have the the Monday day quarterback type of thing. You know, the biggest thing is we look at the charts and we're like, oh, Monday day quarterback, no problem. I would definitely help through that. No, you wouldn't have, because if you would have saw something like this, you would be freaking out. Oh, I'm gonna take my profits. But what's the key point? Volume. Look at that volume. 3 million shares on a 9 million float stock. I have a feeling it's going to consolidate and then take off some more. And it's above the $4 range. So you guys get to analyze this and go over it and go over it and go over it. All right. So that's the kind of the key spots. So I'm gonna bring it out and see here. Then what I would do is I'll go in here and I would insert link, and I will take the video I just created and I would put it in here. And you guys can figure out OneNote on how to do that. And then after that, the next thing I do is we'll let the trade kind of complete. Hey, look at that. Isn't that crazy? Like the stock went red, and now it went green. This is the price action that we need to learn, that we get freaked out about so much. You know, I know I would bailed out on there, but Wolf decided to stay a little longer because he maybe saw something a little bit more. But I guarantee his probably last portion of the shares were probably like 1,000 or so. So I'll pause this. You guys kind of get the idea of how this on demand works. I'm gonna go back to the end of the day. All right, here's the result of the trade. And then what I'll do, here, so Wolf actual exit was not until this candle here, this completed trade. Then I will take a screenshot of the trade, put it in, and then I actually print out this chart. And I add it to my folder of charts that I have that I can flip through and just kind of go through it all. All right, so we got the trade. We have what's happened with it. So far, so good. All right, now go back to all our studying. And okay, so this is the framework part, Dux. I had the hardest time. I know Mark Rook praises the first framework DVD. He says, watch it, watch it, watch it. It never made sense to me. It's just the way it was, the format that it was put. It felt like I was looking for little pieces of gold in this DVD that was so big. When Sykes created this one, I was like, oh my God, it's so clear. So, as a matter of fact, I even rewatched the first framework. I was like, no wonder I never got it because it wasn't clear enough for me. So now what I'm going to do is I flip through the DVD and I figure out what pattern does this fit into the framework.
All right. Be ready for these dips.
And then so in this trade, because of the way it began and how the stock was, pause that. There was a lot of consolidation from the last time it spiked. So there's two ways you can view it. You can view it as a secondary spike, or you can view it as at the very beginning of part one or part two. So we have the ramp up.
Great. Overall market. Guy.
Here we go. And then I like to see like the chart that he put up. And then let's see, pre-pump, early pump. I'll go back in here. I'll do a screen clipping, and then I'll say, okay, this is my screen clipping. And then I'll go, and I also believe that this is further along after the dip buy.
Specifically,
and to me, it seems like kind of like a dead bump bounce as well. So then I'll skip along. I'll find the chart, and then I'll screenshot it. And then after that, I'll come back over here. And then I'll type up what I thought about it after reviewing the trade. I believe this, and then I'll explain it all. And then after that, I'll do another recording video, and then I'll complete it after that. And that's me building out a trade. So let me see here. So then I have my complete trade, and it's all set up. And I'll have do 300 of these. By the time you guys work through, pull this up. How do I? All right, cool. So by the time you guys actually like build out these trades, you know, you do 200 of them because there's plenty of trades by ducks, wool. Oh, it's 21. Now hoodie's coming through. By the time you guys build these all out, you'll have such a good idea of what price action is, what is a fake out, what's a breakout, how to be able to get into this. And you keep on doing the cycle that when you actually are in real time, the market's about to open, you know quickly how to look in the OTC markets and find warrants and ATMs, and then find out what the stockholders' equity is at. I mean, if they're dying for money and they only have $2.5 million in there, but you notice that they have a whole bunch of warrants, guess what? They're going to sell. They're going to drop a whole bunch into the account and then make that float get bigger. So do these exercises, repeat it over and over and over again on your time where you're not feeling pressure to be on the market and actually be in that trade. Then after that, when you're in there, everything feels so natural and it just flows, and you're able to know what you're looking for. And you know, all that studying comes into impact. What he made money off it, $2,000, but what was it and what to look for? So this becomes an invaluable tool when you can't be in the market all day long. You can't sit there your butt in the stock and watch it every single time. And this is what I've done that has created me to say in real time, I'm like, this doesn't look good. This stock's gonna fall apart, and I'm out. I sold, and sure enough, look back at it, you know, an hour later, and the stock fell apart. Or I'm like, the volume's coming in, the trades are going through, and it really came through. So this has helped. This is what turned my training around. Of course, doing all the studying, but you were applying these trades for something, and you have to be able to pick up all the angles to see maybe Wolf didn't pick up a trade right. And there's a few trades that I seen. I was like, no, this looks like a solid trade. I watched Wolf's trade, and sure enough, he lucked out. He made like $3,000, but that was a lucky $3,000. Whereas you look at something else, you're like, oh, I agree with that trade, and sure enough, you see it. So by working through this and seeing each one, was that trader actually right or was he wrong? Did he really luck out or was it a solid trade? So those are the things. I got this one other video for you guys, and I'll put the link in here, but talking about knowing, let me pull this around, the dirtiness that happens in the market and the guys behind it. So like Tim talks about black helicopters, right? And all that stuff. Tim's right. Dude, he's so right. So I'm going to grab this video. And screen share. Here it is. Here
It never worked on Wall Street. Bloomberg News week on this. So what do we know about this 27-year-old millionaire who was, 6 years ago living with his parents in Long Island?
Yes, he was in a van hoping to be a rock star when he learned this one weird legal trick that lets you make huge returns on penny stocks. So usually a horrible investment.
Right.
And the way that it works is he, instead of just buying the stock, loans companies money and then gets in return millions or even billions of shares at a big discount to the market price.
And so the loan is converted to stock
Yes.
at a huge discounted price. So what happens if those companies go bankrupt or they go to zero? What happens then?
It doesn't matter how low the companies go as long as there's a market for the shares. If the stock goes to a penny, he gets it for, say, half a penny. If it goes to a thousandth of a penny, he gets it for half a thousandth of a penny. So he can always make money unless the market totally dries up.
Right, exactly. Then he's out of luck. So tell me a little bit about this guy. I mean, as I mentioned, so 6 years ago, he was living with his parents on Long Island. What is he like now?
All right, so that's a guy, man. That's your Black Hawk helicopter guy, Tim.
Well, hey, so thanks again, Chris. Thanks again, Tango. Man, this was awesome stuff. I apologize, everyone, but Chris did a great job. He built. I didn't really need to. All very, very solid stuff. And what we're gonna do, we're at an hour and a half. So, Chris, I appreciate this. We got about a third of the STT list, and I want to collect. So let's do the Q&A for next time, because I want everybody to enter. So let's save the Q&A if you've got some time. Man, he's busy. It's getting close to my bedtime. So again, thanks, Chris. And I don't know. You might have seen Chris kind of chuckle. I was texting him, telling him how awesome this was, and so thanks again, man. Everybody for being here. I have this tomorrow, and then let's keep our lag on my. It happens with traveling, but the material was great. Have a great night, everyone. Chris, let's get some rest. So, thanks, man.